We just had a recent survey out of small businesses, the largest small business survey in America. And throughout the last 12 to 18 months, even pre-pandemic, the greatest concern has been a lack of demand. And they're concerned that their revenue was going to be hit. And certainly that was the case post-pandemic. But fast forward to the aftermath of the blue sweep of Congress, and immediately it rises up. Their number one concern is now rising taxes. So we have to bear in mind that President Biden can come in on day one and also take out his pen and reverse a lot of the regulatory red tape cutting that was accomplished with Trump over the past 4 years that he must be given credit for. So there's a lot of anxiety right now in the small and medium business sector, all the way up to corporate America, to say nothing of investors, because of the potential for rising capital gains taxes. And then there is the specter of gridlock being released, such that, it took them 8 months last time to come up with a $908 billion package. And now we sit there biting our fingernails saying, are they going to pop up with $2 or $3 trillion before the end of January? And what the ramifications might be in terms of the future for rising interest rates, the future for rising inflation, as well as throwing good money after bad to non-productive means that get us very little. So the hope is that there are several moderates that remain, independent voters, moderate Democrats, moderate Republicans, who are going to prevent just a wholesale unleashing of fiscal spending. It remains to be seen how aggressive the Biden administration is going to be on the tax front because of the fragility of the economy right now. You could certainly see something along the lines of a capital gains tax. But as far as whether or not corporate tax rates are going to be raised back to that 28% pre-Trump tax cut level, that is something that I think remains to be seen, again, because of the fragility of the economic recovery. But I could certainly see a quick imposition of higher capital gains taxes, which would translate its way into the markets, theoretically.
The infrastructure bill, green bill?
Well, those are two different things. Those are two different animals in a big way. So I think that he will have to pick and choose. Unfortunately, the numbers surrounding potential infrastructure spending tend to be in the $1 to $2 trillion range, and I'm very German in my ways. It's not that I'm trying to say we need to put $7 trillion out there, but there's $5+ trillion of repairs that need to be done to infrastructure. And I would rather see, if we're going to have massive deficit spending, I would rather see it go to some place that has already been identified for years and years now. We're about to get a report on March the 3rd, 2021 of the US report card for infrastructure. So we'll know even more here in just a matter of weeks in terms of what needs to be done for infrastructure repairs. As far as the Green New Deal or the New Green Deal, I always say it incorrectly, which always gets me into trouble with everybody. I see that as being given, again, the moderates in Congress. I don't necessarily see the ability to do any massive spending along those lines, along environmental lines, until you get past the initial triage of the fiscal spending that needs to be done in the immediate term to address the aftermath of the pandemic and people who are unemployed, people who are at risk of losing their, people at risk who are at risk of being evicted from their rentals.
Mm-hmm. Do you expect Federal Reserve Act to get opened?
There is a possibility. There is a possibility. Again, remember, Janet Yellen is on the record as saying under the right circumstances. So if there were to be the right circumstances, you certainly have the players in place. You have somebody who understands and is she was Jay Powell's mentor. So you have somebody who can work hand in hand, who is known to have the ability to cross the aisle. She speaks very softly. And the possibility of opening the Federal Reserve Act is higher under Janet Yellen than it has been under any of her predecessors, because of the knowledge that she has and because of the fact that she's also aware that, again, as a labor economist, if quantitative easing is policy that, not that they would ever admit it, is policy that only feeds through to the top 1 or 10% of Americans, then helicopter money, sending money directly to people, well, that would really solve the problem. And that would get you past giving money to Wall Street if you gave it directly to Main Street, but it also happens to be against the law. So to do something along those lines, you would have to reopen the Federal Reserve Act. That opens you to a slippery slope of the potential for central bank digital currencies, because you're going to then get to the issue of how do we deliver the money? And then you get the banking lobbyist involved again, because you basically negate the need for a depository banking system if you have direct Fed accounts. Anyways, I just went off on a tangent.